Hello and welcome to the 28th episode of Planetos Podcast, a podcast dedicated to the fans of George R. R. Martin's A Song of Ice and Fire and HBO's A Game of Thrones. Spoiler warning, the show will cover all material. The books, the show, the histories, the lore, the interviews with showrunners, and George himself. I'm one of your hosts, Brett. You can find me on Twitter at HomelyPillow.
And I'm your other host, Travis. You can find me at Sir_Travis on Twitter. We hope you enjoy today's show. So, Brett, tonight we're going to continue our look at some minor characters. We're actually going to do two tonight. Last time we did three. We had a guest on, but it's just you and I. And we thought, well, let's throw up a couple polls and see what the listeners and the followers on Twitter and our friends out there in Twitteros help us. And I think we got a couple pretty interesting characters. One's a really minor character. The other one is a minor character that may be playing a pretty big role as we get to discussing him here. Go ahead.
Oh, and I have to say, everyone really came through with our last episode because I think that's the first episode we released after Game of Thrones has ended and not about the show, and it got a lot more views than I was expecting.
It did. It was a really good episode, and I was actually looking at the downloads, I think yesterday, and it was up there with some of our episodes during the Game of Thrones season 8, and so that tells me that a lot of you out there have stuck around with us, and we want to thank you very much for that.
Mm-hmm.
That means a lot to us. We're a small fish in a large ocean, but we have a lot of fun here, and we hope you enjoy it. And we've received some good feedback, and so we thank you all for listening. Keep that coming. Help us spread the word, but just engage with us. That's what we want to do.
Yeah.
No matter who's, producing the best content, and that's always debatable because we all have our own views, but we just want to have fun with this. And this is a lot of fun to talk about this. But one of the really interesting things, one of the exciting things about last episode is our friend Micah. He's going to, I was actually talking to him earlier today. He's writing up that Sir Hyle Hunt theory, and he's getting ready to post it to Reddit. And so I think that's going to be really fun. Yes. Beefish and Poor Quentin have been helping him with some of the material that supports that. He's got your idea of the Mystery Night being something that's, kind of points the way to a duel. Beefish said, look at Brandon and Littlefinger's duel over Catelyn. And then I was talking to him and said, the Lannisters are all put on trial all throughout the series. And so Jaime, hasn't yet had a trial. So it's just one of those things where we all work together and Micah already had a great idea on a lot of this content already in his mind. But I think it's going to be a really good post once he gets it done.
Yes. Oh, man. That's great.
Yeah.
All
right.
Oh, by the way, did you ever check out the We Are Bob books?
So I Googled it that night and kind of looked at it, and it looks very interesting. I hopefully eventually I'll circle back to it and get to it.
No, it's totally fine. I was just curious.
No. I did look at it and I was like, okay, this seems like an interesting concept. Because I just started my reread of A Clash of Kings because Not a Cast just dropped the first part of the Clash prologue. So
nice.
I want to try and follow along with them. But then Girls Going Canon, they're doing a special on His Dark Materials, which I've never read. I very vaguely know that story, but I've never read it, and I never saw the movie, and I understand the movie wasn't that great. But I'm debating whether to read the book or watch the HBO series first, and I haven't decided what I'm going to do yet.
Okay. Well, actually, since they're doing that, I do have a few Audible credits that.
Oh, nice.
So maybe I'll do that.
Yeah, everyone says it's a really good book series, and it's 3 books and done. So it's a trilogy, and HBO has said we're doing 3 seasons, and that's it.
That's really cool.
Yeah. So I debate whether, like I said, I debate whether I want to read the book first, or I just want to go in blind and kind of experience the first season and see if I like it.
See, but that might be better.
It could be, but I'm also kind of the opinion that, reading the material enhances the viewing. So I don't know. I just go back and forth on what I'm going to do.
Yeah. Yeah. It's one of those things. It depends. I mean, it kind of depends on your outlook, because, a lot of times like TV shows can let you down, but then if you're looking at it for spectacle, knowing the story, it just depends on your attitude going into it. I think, like we talked about with Game of Thrones. But another thing I've been listening or watching is The Boys. I just finished that.
Oh yeah,
and it is great. It is rough. It's rough, but it is. I thought it was pretty well done. So
nice.
But it's another Seth Rogen produced. The same team that Seth Rogen is in. They did Preacher, but now they're doing this.
Yeah, I love Preacher, so I might have to check that out. I saw someone talking, a couple people talking about it on Twitter. I think our friend Pat Spunogle was mentioning that it was pretty good. Yeah. So yeah, I'm gonna have to try and check that. It's superheroes.
It's
kind of a dark twist on superheroes. I take that.
It's the superheroes are celebrities basically in this world. So that know they are the movie stars because they film movies with them too, and basically people worship them like celebrities, and they just think. But then you find out they're people in their at heart. So most of them are vain. Especially the there's the Seven, which is supposed to clearly be a play on the Justice League, and most of them are just pieces of shit, like selfish pieces of shit, and to varying degrees. But it's interesting, and then you'll figure out the tone within like the first 2 to 3 minutes of it. Like you'll just see it and you'll be like, okay. Because it's pretty horrifying and sad at the same time, and that's the tone throughout the But it gets interesting. Nice. But anyways, let's jump into these.
Let's get to it. So we put this to a vote, like we are wont to do at times, and you guys and girls chose Anguy the Archer and Moore's Crowfood Umber. And so the two people who didn't win are Gilbert Farwind, who was winning there for a while, and actually Micah was really pushing the votes there for him. I think we're gonna have to do an episode on Gilbert Farwind at some point. The other person was Balon Swan, who you've chosen for a couple polls in the past.
Yes, yeah.
So we'll probably just do an episode on them at some point. But anyways, so we've got Moore's Crowfood Umber and Anguy the Archer. So let's jump right into this. We're going to talk a little bit, some background on these characters. We're going to tell you what they do in the story, and then we're going to talk toward the end a little bit about what they might do in Wins or Dream if they survive to that point. So I'm just going to start with Anguy the Archer, if that's okay.
Yeah.
So he's as he's called the Archer. He's a very, very skilled archer. In fact, one of the first scenes that we see him in is he comes to the Hands tournament in a Game of Thrones, the tournament that is thrown in celebration of Ned Stark's appointment as Hand to the King. And he beats
the Balon Swan.
Balon Swan. Yep. Yes, he actually beats Balon Swan, who himself is a good archer, and he beats Jalabarjo, the exiled king from the Summer Isles. So he does really well. He wins an enormous sum of money. I think it's about 10,000 gold dragons. You know, the amount of money that they give for these type of tournaments and melees and jousts and archery contests is just insane.
Yeah, because I don't really know the scale, but I know like the way like Dunk talks about golden dragons. I mean, like you can survive with one for like a year or something. He was talking about if you're one of the small folk, but the fact that Anguy like blew 10,000 golden dragons like is crazy.
Yeah. So, and that's what's really interesting about it, and kind of sets him up for his future, is the fact that one, Eddard Stark is so impressed with him that he offers him a position in his household guard, or the hands guard. You know, I'm not sure if one retains loyalty to House Stark and then the hand gets his own guard. But anyways, Eddard Stark offers him a role in his guards, and Anguy refuses it. And like you said, he goes on to squander all that money. He actually spends it on a couple, or actually three really good, sorry to say that, really good sex workers from Shataya's brothel in King's Landing. He feasts on roast swan. That's kind of funny that he beat Balon Swan and he's feasting on roast swan.
That's nice. I didn't catch that.
He buys copious amounts of Arbor wine, and he's just living lavishly down there in King's Landing. Now, one of the interesting things about him is he's originally from the Dornish Marches. So it's speculated, it's never really specifically said, but because he ends up with the Brotherhood Without Banners, he's probably in the force that Ned Stark tells Lord Beric Dondarrion together to go arrest or kill the Mountain.
Yeah.
Because obviously the Dondarrions are Marcher lords.
It's actually it's actually the first version of the Avengers that failed. The Hawkeye got out. Yeah. So
yes, Hawkeye survived. I think Hawkeye is still alive in Endgame. I haven't seen Endgame yet, but don't spoil anything if you've seen it. But yeah, I'm not gonna. Yeah, no, he's the Hawkeye of the Avengers. So he rode north with him at some point. Now let's just kind of back up and give you some information on what Anguy looks like. He's really skinny. He's got, a lot of freckles. He's got red hair. He's pretty young. He's described as pretty young in the story. He's also very highly valued because of his skill. So I don't remember specifically if other people approach him to hire him or what. But apparently he had a reputation as being pretty skilled as he came to the Hands tournament. And he knows some songs. He actually knows some of the Marcher ballads. The Marchers or the Marches are an area just north of Dorne. If you look through history, what that means is the March areas of England has that. They had the Earl of March, the Lords of the March. That was an area of the country that was kind of on the frontier of the kingdom. So, like in England, the Marcher lords were on the Welsh border because they could muster forces and march into Wales and put down any rebellions or fight in any wars.
Who got that? Because I was confused too, because someone got that confused. It might have been Michael Carfeld, who does the maps. I can't remember, but someone thought it was the marsh, like it was marshes. And so they
Yeah.
and I think it was him. I don't know. I could be wrong, but someone got it confused, and I think it was him because it's kind of funny because he drew it. He drew a bunch of marshes in that area, and but then there was a description of it that came out, and then he was like, "Oh, it may have not been him, but someone in the community,
someone somewhere."
Yeah.
That is interesting because I mean, I don't remember what I heard the first time I heard the term Marcher Lords. It was definitely something to do with real medieval history.
Yeah,
because it's I know that term, but I'm kind of like that. That at first I kind of thought, is that marsh? Was that like a way to write marsh back then? What are they saying?
yeah.
And then obviously looking into it, I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Marcher Lords. All right. That's where Anguy ends in A Game of Thrones. He presumably rides off with Beric Dondarrion. He's not seen in A Clash of Kings, and we actually get him back into the narrative come A Storm of Swords. He is with the Brotherhood Without Banners, and he's part of the party that captures Arya and brings her before Lord Beric Dondarrion. And it's actually I think it's at their camp in the Hollow Hill is where they bring her. Now, we know that the Brotherhood Without Banners, one of their members was Thoris of Myr, the Red Priest, the sort of failed Red Priest because he'd been sent to convert Robert and was never able to do that because he was drunk most of the time. But out there in the battle with the Lannisters, the War of the Five Kings, R'hllor becomes really important to the Brotherhood Without Banners, and actually Anguy converts. And so he is a follower of R'hllor, which takes on a very prominent role in the Brotherhood Without Banners storyline in A Storm of Swords. And it's something that Arya witnesses in that story. The last that we hear of Anguy in the story comes in A Feast for Crows. So we find out that Lord Beric has finally died. He's on his 5th, 6th, 7th life, whatever it is. And he obviously dies and passes on his life force to Lady Stoneheart.
I think it was actually his 7th life.
Oh, really?
Because I think when the Hound killed him, that was 6 when he came back.
Okay, gotcha.
I think.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Lady Stoneheart has come back, and she is on a vengeance quest. And we're not sure if that doesn't sit well with Anguy, but he and others have left the Brotherhood Without Banners. They have separated from them. Mm-hmm. And so we don't know where he is. There's some theories.
Oh, I can't wait.
Yeah, we'll talk about those here in just a second.
Yeah, and this may get into some theories, but I'm not going to bring up the theories. But if it involves a theory, just stop me. But basically, I always just thought it was weird that the Brotherhood Without Banners didn't go to Stannis' side. I mean, there's so much symbology there, like where Stannis he's got the red, because a lot of what the Brotherhood Without Banners do is like they have a lot of like the 7 worship in there, like or not worship, but a lot of like the knights and all this stuff. But then they worship R'hllor, and they kind of like combine the two, and that's very much what kind of Stannis is doing. So it baffles me that they never like joined up with Stannis. And with Catelyn or Lady Stoneheart taking over, they're kind of that branch just kind of like gets. It just seems like it goes way off track. So I could see how people were like, okay, whoa, no. So I don't know. It's an interesting.
Oh no, I think it's true. You know, I would assume the majority of the Brotherhood Without Banners, and I think we kind of know this, they're made up of the remnants of Barrick's party, which, as we've said, is probably made up a lot of Stormlanders and people in and around King's Landing that he recruited to, go find the mountain. They obviously take on Riverlanders. They take on a number of other folks who...
Some of the Stark House was with them.
Yeah, who either flee the war or, their commander is killed or their lord is killed or whatever. So I think you're right that, they probably came into this, a lot of them being Faith of the Seven. Now it's the fact that Beric Dondarrion keeps getting resurrected.
Yeah. That
really brings them over to R'hllor. But I think that's really interesting that you say that. And I just wonder, is part of the reason they didn't go over to Stannis because Stannis was defeated. And so, and they do take on a role of, I mean, the Brotherhood Without Banners in a lot of ways is the Robin Hood and his merry men of this story. They're kind of out in the forest. They're enacting vengeance. They're harrying supply lines and forces. They're taking from the rich to give to the poor, if you will. So I think that had Stannis not lost so dramatically, I think there is that distinct possibility that they could have, because they don't come back into the story. Well, I mean, they're in this story. They're in the story of a Clash of Kings. We don't really see them, though. We don't see them directly until Arya kind of falls into their camp.
That's true.
In season 3. And of course, by then Stannis is defeated. But they have taken on such a purpose. Plus, I think we also have to remember that, to a large degree, they're still following King Robert. Mm-hmm. So, now you could argue, well, Stannis as his heir should then get their support. But I think their purpose is to carry out Ned Stark's orders under King Robert's name, and that is to bring justice to the mountain, to capture him or kill him, and to now, obviously, it becomes taking revenge for the Red Wedding.
See, and that's what's so strange to me is, like Stannis is a R'hllor follower he is and isn't. I don't know. He seems reluctant about it, but I think he basically is, because if he burns Shireen, he's obviously invested. But it just seemed so strange that, like, oh yeah, like, why wouldn't they just do it?
And I think part of it, I think part of it is that they suffer from mission creep. That I think they.
Oh.
Go ahead,
sorry. Well, no, sorry, I forgot. I was gonna add into if Stannis wins or he gets his way, he is going to carry out Robert's justice.
Oh yes.
I mean, he's definitely going to murder the mountain or have him killed or whatever. But
he would do that. I think they just suffer a little bit from mission creep, that it becomes about capturing or killing the mountain. Then it becomes, they've killed all of these innocent small folk, so we've got to get justice for those people.
Okay.
And then it becomes the the fallout from the Red Wedding and some of the other things that happen in the Riverlands. And then it just kind of
it's basically the story of A Song of Ice and Fire. I mean,
right. It just keeps
yeah.
changing. I don't think that their loyalty ever really changes. It's just that the war changes around them and they have to adapt to it.
Yeah.
I mean, I do think it's a really interesting thought. Why didn't they, as Relorites, go to Stannis? But I think that they think, and I think it also goes a lot to red priests and priestesses. We haven't really seen some of these red priests interact, and they're all quite different, right?
Yeah.
Thoros is not a believer at all. He becomes a believer because it's the only thing he knows. Melisandre thinks she knows what's going on. And actually, something interesting poor Quentin was saying on their episode on A Clash of Kings, what makes Melisandre so frightening is not that she's completely wrong or that she's completely right. It's that she's half right.
Yeah.
The truth is there, but she gets it wrong, or she thinks it's a different castle, or she thinks she that she gives these half truths, which then these people spin off as, well, that's what God told us or whatever. Of course, then Makoro and all of the rest that we see over in Essos. So I think that's part of it too. That do they, because Beric keeps coming back, do they listen to what Beric says? And Beric's purpose is, I've got to kill the mountain. I've got to kill the mountain. I've got to kill the mountain.
Yeah.
So I think that's part of it, that they're trying to stay true, but they're also trying to adapt to what's around them. So let's talk a little bit about where Anguy may come back into the story. Now, as we said, we know the Brotherhood Without Banners has split. We don't know how many have split off, but there are some that have left because Lady Stoneheart is too much for them, or whatever happened. So it's a potential that they could come in. They could be out there in the Riverlands right now. They could be doing their own thing. They could come back into the equation, helping the Malisters retake their castle. They could come back into the equation, doing their own attacks on the Freys. There's some northern force still out there that could come back. I think they may be loyal to House Serwyn, perhaps. And they're somewhere out there. So Anguy and the number of Brotherhood Without Banners that have spun off could be with them. They could be going their own way. There could be small bands of them. There could be a few of them. Some of them could travel back to King's Landing. Some of them could take up with small holdfasts or keeps or castles that are in need of protection.
Yeah,
there's a vast number of possibilities. But I want to throw out one interesting theory that I read, and I could see this happening. So one of the other members of the Brotherhood Without Banners is Edric Dane.
Oh, yep.
And Edric, obviously, is from Starfall. He is a Dane of Starfall. Now, it's thought that Edric Dane is charged with returning Lord Beric's bones to Blackhaven, to his castle, which is in the Stormlands. So there's a theory out there that Anguy is from the Dornish Marches, which is, that region of the Stormlands and the Reach right on the Dornish border. So there's a theory out there that Anguy is with Edric Dane, and they're traveling south with Lord Beric's bones, and perhaps he and Edric are going to come into the Dornish story. I think there's a possibility that they could either come into. Well, here's something interesting, and I just thought of this, so it may be really bad. It may be a really bad take. What if they're captured and they're with Phagon? You know, the Golden Company have archers, really good archers. Could Anguy become one of them? Could he be brought into the Aegon plot because they're captured and taken to Storm's End because they're traveling through the Stormlands? They could already be beyond the Stormlands, though.
Yeah.
And come back into the Dornish plot at Starfall. We know that Areo Hotah is searching right now for Darkstar. And if Darkstar is killed, someone has to wield Dawn. And we know, I think according to George, we know we're going to Starfall. We know we're going to get the Danes in some capacity, probably in the Winds of Winter. So perhaps Anguy comes back into the equation with Edric Dane at Starfall.
I love that theory. I mean, and it makes sense. I mean, because I was also like wondering like where is this story going? I mean, you've got an amazing archer that, I mean, seems like Hawkeye level archery skills. So I love the idea of him of the Brotherhood without banners spilling over into like the Dornish, spilling over into the Danish history. No, but the Dornish storyline, I think that's really cool. But also too, it makes sense if they spill over into this the Phagon plot, because you have Arianne? No,
Arianne Martell.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yep. You got her potentially headed that way. I mean, so well, actually, doesn't she end up meeting them in the I mean, it's Winds of Winter stuff.
Yeah, we talk about those spoilers.
Okay.
You know, I don't know. It's been so long that I've read those sample, and there's 2 Arianne sample chapters from the Winds of Winter. I'm not sure.
I know she's either meets with them or she's on her way.
Are you talking meeting with Phagon?
Yeah.
Yeah, she has not reached Phagon yet. So
so she's on her way in the sample
I
chapters.
think the last part is she's at like a castle in the Rainwood.
Okay.
She has just landed in the Stormlands, and you know, there's that group of Golden Company soldiers and commanders who greet her and say, well, they either say we've taken Storm's End or we're about to take Storm's End. So basically it's theorized that her next chapter, so either her second or third chapter, because there's B-Fish thinks that Arianne's 2 chapters will get combined in the Winds of Winter. Anyways, she's very close to getting to Storm's End and meeting Phagon.
Cool. Yeah. So it definitely makes sense for him to show up in her storyline too, because because
you've got the logistics there of where he's going to be in that area or coming through that area, but then you got, if he's with Edric Dane, then I kind of think I kind of lean toward he comes into the Areo Hotah Darkstar Starfall story, and then from there I don't know what happens, where he goes or whatever. So but it's interesting theory.
I mean it seemed, and are they even going after, like, are they actually going after Darkstar? Like, it just seems weird that
it does. It really does. That's definitely something that's going to be really interesting to see play out, because the Danes they're pretty popular in the fandom. And I think it's just because we just don't know a lot about them. And
it's, Arthur Dane was basically King Arthur,
he was the best fighter that Jaime ever saw. He's the best fighter that Ned ever saw. He wields this sword that's
not Valyrian still, and
from a freaking meteorite. his sister may or may not have killed herself. She may or may not have been in love with Ned Stark. I mean, we just don't know. And I definitely think that the Danes are going to play a more important role. Maybe not more important role, but they're going to be a feature of the Winds of Winter.
So I guess one last thing, if you have nothing left on Anguy. So, okay, I do like the, all the talk with, like season 7 and 8 of Game of Thrones. Like, well, where's Anguy? If you had Anguy, he could have just straight up murked
he would have been the Legolas of the Battle of Helm's Deep.
So, yeah.
The Battle of Long Night.
Do you think he has some potential in-game plot? Or, yeah, like, I don't know. Because, I don't know. I mean, I like the idea of him being, so good of an archer. He's going to be vital for some sort of convoluted plan or something.
Okay.
So,
I'm just spitballing something here.
Okay.
If he falls into the Fagon plot, whether it's first through Starfall and then they become part of the Fagon plot, or they're captured and taken to Storm's End and become... He's a really good archer. Does that mean he can potentially target a dragon?
That's nice.
Now, there's a big difference between a scorpion, as we saw in season 7 and 8 of Game of Thrones, and actual bow and arrow. But
if you think about it in the way maybe George thinks about it, he's like, he's archer class. He's he may not be thinking about like the actual logistics of an operator of a. He might just be like, this guy's got good aim no matter what he's using.
Yeah, I mean, George. To be fair, George has said about shooting a fully grown dragon, in the air, would be very difficult. I mean, you're talking about trying to shoot a B-57 down. I mean, they're giant, they're way up there, all that stuff. They move fast, all that. But there's that famous scene in The Hobbit where Bard, the bowman of Bardtown, I think, Lake Town.
Oh yeah,
in The Hobbit, he's the one that brings down Smaug, because Smaug has, Bilbo sees a scale that is gone, and that's where he can be hit. Now, I'm not saying Drogon or Viserion or Rhaegal are susceptible to that, or that their scales will be whatever. But just a thought, if he's such a good archer, does he become, like as you said, does he become more important for the end game?
Man, okay, you just made me think. Like, why is there no armor made out of the scales of dragons?
Oh,
because that is a thing. That is a thing in a bunch of like video games, like where like
interesting.
Yeah, like where there's like dragon scale, dragon bone armor. Especially in like the Elder Scrolls games, because they have those. But yeah, I don't know. Like, oh man, that'd be so. I mean, would it be on par? I don't know, with Valyrian Steel or something. But I don't know. Just a thought. That's kind of strange that. I don't know. I don't know why I'd never thought of that within the context of this story. But it's strange that hasn't been a thing.
And it may have. We're just two guys here talking.
Oh yeah, true.
11:15 at night, but it's quite possible that someone out there has thought that theory, but just spitballing.
Yeah.
Just spitballing here. So let's move to our next character, and that is Moore's Crowfood Umber. And we know the Umbers are a house of the north. They rule Last Hearth, which I think is the closest castle to the Wall and to
it is
the Night's Watch. So Moore's Crowfood Umber is he's one of the uncles to the Great John. So And I think the Great John is still being held captive by the Freys.
Yeah.
But
the Freys, or he might have been transferred to the Lannisters, but I mean, he's in chains somewhere.
Yeah. He's a prisoner of the crown, so to speak, of the Lannister crown. Right now he's serving as Castellan with his brother Hother, Umber of Last Hearth. But it's interesting, they're on opposite sides right now. So let's talk a little bit about Mors, and then we'll move into where exactly they are. So Mors is an older gentleman. He's actually probably about 65 years old in the story. He first appears in A Clash of Kings. He comes to the Harvest Feast in one of Bran's chapters. Mm-hmm. And then he comes back into the story in A Dance with Dragons and The Winds of Winter when he's mentioned. So let's talk a little bit about Mors. Let's give you a little background here on him. And then we'll talk about some speculation of where he's going to go. Like we said, he's old. He's an old man, but he's huge and he's powerful. You know, the House Umber sigil is a giant breaking its chains. I have something interesting that I want to talk about when we get to the speculation part. It's not anything earth shattering, folks, but it's just kind of a parallel that I think is interesting for House Umber. Like we said, he's the uncle of the Great John. And his brother Hother Horsebane, who has his own interesting story. Now you're going to ask, well, what does this Mors Crowfood mean? What does this Hother Horsebane mean? So Crowfood is a nickname. So basically, the story goes, and I love this story. This is just like a northern story. This would be what happens to a northerner. He was asleep by the road, and a crow thought he was dead, and so it landed and it pecked out his eye. And Mors wakes up, and he grabs that crow and he bites off its head, and so that's why he's called Crow's Food.
The other one's not so great, but
no, the other one's really not good. We'll tell that here in just a minute. Now that story is told to Bran by Old Nan, or it's a story that Old Nan told him. I think Bran tells it in A Clash of Kings. Now Mors's wife died in childbirth, like every other woman in this story for some reason. And his sons were actually killed at the Battle of the Trident during Robert's Rebellion. Now, this is an interesting thing because this is a theory that some people have. His only daughter was abducted in 270 AC by wildlings, according to Mors. And Mors Umber has a really deeply held hatred of the free folk. Now let's kind of jump back and just talk just a little more about his physical appearance. He's got this shaggy white beard. So he's got, kind of this thick, unkempt beard that he wears. In place of his eye that was pecked out by a crow, he has a chunk of dragon glass in there. So he's pretty badass in that regard. But he conceals it. With a stained white leather eye patch. And I think this is the most badass. As if this guy couldn't get more badass. The cloak, the hood and cloak that he wears is a pelt of a snow bear, what we would probably term a polar bear. So imagine, the look of a polar bear. And this guy has this polar bear's head on top of his head, like a hood. And then it's just this white cloak draped down behind him.
So So this guy seems, he seems like, I mean, not only is he badass, but he also seems like he's got a sense of humor and just rolls with the punches. I mean, because who admits to getting their eye pecked out by a crow,
right?
Especially in Umber, you know.
Especially in Umber. Yes.
So he seems like he does have a sense of humor.
Yeah, and actually, he's described as usually drunk. So I kind of he kind of reminds me of like of the Northern Mountain clans. You know, when we discuss Big Bucket Wall, he kind of describes me in that kind of same vein.
That makes a lot of sense. I mean, most of the Umbers kind of have that like weird rugged thing going.
Yeah, like they remind me a lot. Being from West Virginia, they remind me a lot of like, you know, some people you'd find at the end of a holler up in the mountains that, you know, just two old brothers sitting there drinking their moonshine with a shotgun across their lap. And they're like, you know, at one time they might shoot you, but then the next time they're like, you know, you want to smoke, you want to drink, let's party, you know, shit like that.
You just reminded me of, the princess, the pirate princess, that Oakenfist has to the freaking crazy guy.
Ricalio Rendoon.
Yes. Oh man.
Yes.
Why didn't you put him on the list? I love that character so much. But anyways,
we've got to do that. Yeah. So I mean, and obviously he's like out there crazy, but it's still the same kind of personality, just this like bigger than life personality. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's pretty fucking crazy. So let's just kind of go through here some of the history of this. Now, like we said, he and his brother Hother, they attend the harvest feast at Winterfell. We've already talked about that. And at that harvest feast, now one of the features of the harvest feast is everyone's trying to get Lady Hornwood's hand in marriage. You know, her husband had died maybe at the Battle of the Whispering Wood. I don't remember which one, but he dies pretty early on. He actually might have been under command of Roose Bolton, and Roose, of course, sent all of his neighbors into battle to die first. So yeah, he tries to get her hand in marriage, but Danella Hornwood, Lady Hornwood, doesn't really like Moors. Now, also during the harvest feast, Hother Umber, Hother Horsebane, we'll talk here in just a minute about what his name means. But Hother requests some soldiers and some longships from House Stark to help them, push back against this influx of wildlings. So, we know from A Clash of Kings that there are wildlings getting south of the wall. We don't know if they're swimming around it. We don't know if there's a passage they found. We don't know if they're climbing it, whatever. But apparently House Umber is dealing with some wildlings on their land. And one of the commands that Maester Luwin gives in the name of Robb Stark, King in the North, and Bran Stark, Lord of Winterfell, is that the Umbers need to ally with the Manderleys on these longships and men, that the Manderleys, still have a large force. And Moors is kind of dismissive of Wyman Manderley. And he says, Wyman is a waddling sack of suet. But Sir Roderick Cassel, who's the Castellan of Winterfell, commands that the Umbers, in the name of the king, Robb Stark, ally with the Manderleys, and of course the Umbers give in, although there's a bit of grumbling there. And then finally, at the harvest feast, Moors and his brother are playing a drinking game. They're slamming their horns together hard, and a dance is started. And Moors picks up a serving girl and just tosses her in the air. And so that's the last we see of Moors in A Clash of Kings. Now, in A Storm of Swords, he's just mentioned. So at River Run, the Great John actually tells Robb that his uncles are looking to remarry. Again, both their wives are dead. And actually, it's I guess Robb has a thought where he considers marrying a daughter of Lord Walder Frey to Moors. However, shortly, before any of this can happen, Robb is killed at the Red Wedding, and the Great John is captured there. Now, I think that that's important to understand as we now jump into A Dance with Dragons. So, the Great John is a prisoner, and we know, a lot of what's happening in A Dance with Dragons is based on the fact that there's all these political prisoners that the Lannisters and the Freys and the Boltons hold. And so the Umbers are kind of, on their best behavior. The Manderleys are on their best behavior. But there's a lot going on behind the scenes with these Northern Lords. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that occurs in A Dance with Dragons is that Hother Horsebane supports the Boltons, and he's actually at the Dreadfort with Ramsay in, I think, one of Theon's first chapters in A Dance with Dragons. And he is now somewhere in Winterfell with the other Northern Lords who are supporting, and I'm doing air quotes because we don't think all of them inside Winterfell are supporting the Boltons. No. But Hother Horsebane is in there. So let's just stop real quick and say that Hother Horsebane's nickname comes from the fact that I think he was in the South. He was visiting the South, and
why do I feel like it was like at the Citadel? Is that something I'm like thinking?
I was going to say Old Town, but
Old Town.
I was going to say it was at Old Town. He's with a whore, who is I shouldn't say whore, sex worker. Yeah. He's with a sex worker who makes fun of him, I believe.
No. I think the sex worker he thought was a woman was actually a man, and then he killed him.
That's right. But I think there's
transgender,
There's
I'm not sure, but
but there's kind of speculation that maybe he really wanted to be with a man, right?
That also.
Yeah, there's the possibility that and he kind of got either embarrassed that someone found out, so he killed this sex worker because of that. But anyways, that's why he's called Horsebane, because he is the bane of whores, apparently.
Oh, okay. So he had the makings of a maester, is what the wiki is saying.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
They sent him to study at the Citadel in Old Town, and then while he was there, while in Old Town, a sex worker tried to rob him, so Hother disemboweled him, or bowed the sex worker. So the story in Whispers is because the sex worker was a man. Okay,
right, and that's the question. Like, did the sex worker try to rob him on the street, or were they in bed together? Whatever. So yeah,
which is very unfortunate with a lot of real world situations where someone who's transgender, because it's a big debate where, not to get into it, but basically someone finds out that they have a penis instead of a vagina, and they get fucking killed for that, and it goes into it gets it's a thing.
Yeah, it's a really fucking terrible thing, and actually, there's unfortunately a big uptick in violence on transgender people right now in the country, and it's really sad and unfortunate. I just wish people would just live your life, and just leave people alone, and
just don't
as long as no one is harming you physically or mentally or whatever, like just leave people alone. Let them live their fucking lives.
Yeah.
Anyways, all right, we stand with our transgendered brothers and sisters. So let's get back to Moore's Umber here. So, like we said, Hother is supporting the Boltons. Now, Moore's actually declares for the one true king, Stannis Baratheon. And this is an interesting thing because this is a parallel that comes up in A Dance with Dragons. A Feast for Crows, but Feast Dance. Moors will only agree to support Stannis Baratheon if he is given the skull of Mance Rayder. So, he is given the skull, and again, we're doing air quotes here. The skull of Mance Rayder. We know as the readers and as the fans that Mance Rayder is not dead. That it was Rattleshirt.
Well, and
Glamorous Mance.
Stannis may even think that is the actual skull.
Yeah, we don't know. We don't know what Stannis knows about this. Whether he was in on the con, which we kind of think, man, that doesn't seem like something Stannis would do.
I don't know why I never caught that before, but that is the whole thing with the Mountain's head.
Yes, and that's the parallel that we're talking here. The Martells want the skull of the Mountain, and they are sent the skull of the Mountain. We don't know if it's the skull of the Mountain, but it's a pretty big skull. And, there's the famous scene with Ilaria Sand in A Feast for Crows where, the Martells still want vengeance. And she's saying there's the killer of Oberyn. His skull sits right there. But anyways, it's an interesting parallel that skulls are used in Feast Dance like they are. But one of the conditions that Moores gives to Stannis is that he will not fight his brother Hother Horsebane. He will not battle against him. Now, some of the knights and southern lords that are with Stannis advise Stannis to attack Last Hearth for this. And of course, Jon says, you don't want to do that. That's a really really dumb idea. The Umbers are, good Northerners. They will support you if they say they will, take Moores's support and be done with it. So, And one of the conditions, the condition that he not have to fight Hother, Stannis actually says to him, all right, when the battle comes, you're going to be on the opposite side. Wherever we see Hother Horsebane and his forces, we're going to put you on the other side. So, Stannis has made that commitment. If you fight for me, I'll make sure that you don't have to face him in battle.
Yeah.
Now, Jon obviously convinces Stannis to instead march to Deepwood Motte and drive out the Ironborn, where Stannis picks up the mountain clans, House Mormont, House Glover, all of them. Mm-hmm. But Moore's Umber is not with him. Moore's Umber actually marches south for Winterfell and begins to camp outside of Winterfell. And he and his men, who are made up mostly of green boys, start blowing the horns and beating the drums. And of course, there's that famous scene in one of Theon's chapters where all of a sudden the horns and the drums beat, and everyone's like, "Oh fuck, Stannis Baratheon is here." But it's Moore's Umber.
I just want Ramsay to get pissed off and like, I'm gonna kill that fucking horn player.
Yeah, yeah, that would be really funny, especially a parallel to what Theon says in the show.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's camped outside of Winterfell, and it's a blizzard. There are blizzard conditions in the north, but the folks in Winterfell can't really see, beyond a few feet from the castle. And so Moor's Umber is, they think of this vast host is out there, and it's only, a few hundred people. And actually what Moor's Umber is doing, he's digging pits around Winterfell, spiked pits. And that's actually what kills Anus or whatever, Anus Frey.
I like Anus Frey.
Yeah, Anus Frey. It actually kind of sounds better. Anus Frey sounds better than Anus Frey. Anus Frey.
Anus Frey.
So actually, that's what when the Freys and the Boltons finally emerge to march on Stannis, Anus falls into a pit and dies in a spiked pit. But before that, when Theon escapes with Jane Poole, fake Arya, it is Moor's Umber who captures them. So he finds them outside of Winterfell, and he also is the first person to meet Tycho Nestoris, the representative of the Iron Bank and his party. So Moor's Umber is the one that puts Tycho Nestoris and Jane Poole and Theon, and I think there's maybe some members of the Night's Watch with them. He puts them together and sends them in the direction of where Stannis would be.
That's interesting.
So, yeah. So, and of course, Stannis is I think it's 2 days, 3 days ride from Winterfell at the Crofters Village. And so somewhere in between is Moor's Umber and his Green Boys, as they're called, because, they're obviously young, very, very young soldiers, farm hands, etc., and then some really old people that are with him. Moors is the one that captures Theon and Jane Poole, and actually he kind of questions Jane Poole, asking her questions about Winterfell, names of servants, names of people inside the castle, to whether or not he suspects that she's not Arya Stark or what. But basically he's just trying to confirm her identity. Now, the one thing I said is, and it doesn't really matter, but Anus Frey, unfortunately, apparently does not fall into a pit of spikes and dies by multiple stab wounds. He does fall into a pit or a trap or something, and he breaks his neck. So I guess I'll have to live with him breaking his neck and die.
Well, I wonder too. I mean, if Moor's Umber is building these trenches, he's planning on them being so arrogant they're going to come out and meet Stannis and the
yes,
and obviously
that's what they do.
That happen.
Yeah.
Which is it's one of the things, like, a lot of people have speculated. Well, not a lot, probably just Brendan B. Fish and a few handfuls of people, but or just him. I don't know. But anyways, but where like Stannis was probably doing that to Renly when he wouldn't back down to Renly, in Clash, so at the parlay or whatever. So I wonder if he got the idea from Stannis, to build the trenches with the spikes and. But
yeah, I mean that's quite possible. I was in reading up on Moor's Umber, I was surprised. I knew where he was. I knew he was outside the gates. I knew he was sounding the horns and beating the drums.
Yeah.
But I couldn't remember why they split. Like, I kind of thought he was like an advance party. Like he had gone on from Stannis's party at Deepwood Mott. Like he'd left a day earlier or two, you know, whatever it was. But he doesn't go with him. So he went there for some reason. Now, whether he said to Stannis, you know, I'm going to go scout the place. I'm going to go, you know, be the first line of defense, or, you know, drive them crazy or whatever. I don't know. Or if Stannis ordered it and said, well, the thing you can do for me is go provide me intel on what's going on at Winterfell.
Okay. So it's interesting because, I mean, you know, when Tyrion sent his clansmen out to harass Stannis into the woods, you know, he knew they weren't soldiers. They were warriors. They don't work good as a unit. They can rush in an area, raid it, go. And maybe that's what Stannis and Moors came to a conclusion about, you know, his green men and his old men, you know, his graybeards, that he has. Like, the best thing for them is let's go harass them, and do like digging, because they're not, you know, a lot of those people are probably not soldiers. They're probably just farmhands, and, you know, people who live on farms, or just, you know, just people trying to survive. So like they're just digging. They're just digging trenches, and, you know.
Yeah, and actually, you know, at some point Moore's John either lays it out for Stannis, or Morris himself lays it out for Stannis, that, you know, they don't have a large force. House Umber doesn't, because most of them went south with Robb, and Hother is on the Bolton side, so he has a lot of the guards from Last Hearth. So Moore's had to, you know, the guards that he did have, he then had to raise levies. And like you said, who's left but farmhands and young green boys and really old people. So I kind of think, whether or not it was his idea or Stannis's idea, it was a plan they put in place. Okay, you march south, you feed us information about what's going on at Winterfell, you know, dig these trenches, you know, make it hard for them to leave the castle, you frighten them, whatever. Someone came up with that, and obviously it's a pretty good plan.
Well, and I wonder too, like is God, what's his name? Is Hother? Is Hother really for the phrase? Right. We don't know.
We don't know,
because it could be an elaborate trick that they do just so they remain on the winning side, and then they can kind of stay safe. It could be, you know, it could be that. It could be like a safety thing. It could be, you know, maybe there is the Grand Northern conspiracy going on, and they're kind of part of that. I mean,
right. And if you take the Karstarks, for example, Alice Karstark, when she comes to the Wall, you know, she's in a battle with her uncle over Carhold. The Umbers, we don't really see that. I mean, like we just read in A Clash of Kings, they were partying together. They were clinking their drinks together. So I kind of like your idea that this is let's have a foot in each camp.
Yeah.
You know, Hother, you go support the Boltons. I'll go support Stannis. Whoever wins, we'll try to save each other, because we'll have supported, you know, the winning side. So I do kind of like that.
Well, and because you get the personality of the Umbers through you seeing the Great John, and how he's just so, like, he's not very cunning, and so you have these two people that have like a plan, and they're working with Stannis, or at least one of them is, and they're working with each other. It kind of shows you know, a little more dynamic, which is very interesting for Umbers. I mean, so.
Well, let's move into some speculation and some questioning here, because your thing, you know, that the Umbers aren't that cunning. There's someone out there who disagrees, and Yeah.
No, that's not what I meant. I'm saying people think that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And okay. Yes, you're right. I apologize. And he actually uses. We'll get to it here in a minute. But the theory, I think the theory is a little more complex than what's true. But it's a really interesting theory. So we'll talk about that here in just a minute. So first, I want to talk about the Umber sigil. The Umber sigil, like we said, is a roaring giant, brown haired and wearing a skin, wearing a cloak with broken silver chains on a flame red field. So, again, this big, powerful creature, wearing a cloak, breaking its chains, on this bright red field, which sounds a lot like the physical description of all the Umbers we get. These big, hoary men that are just strong and roaring and drunk and fighting and all this stuff.
I might be reaching, but just the skull comparison with the mountain is kind of weird. Kind of just you get a giant breaking chains, and then you have the mountain and like the whole skull, the demanding of the skulls. I don't know if that's intentional. Like, I don't know. I think I'm reaching a lot.
No, I don't. Yeah, but I think it's a good comparison that a skull features in both those storylines, and the skull. Yeah, it's a giant, right? Well, one of the things I wanted to say about the Umber sigil is the Umbers have been in check because the Great John is imprisoned. Now, like we said, they may be playing both sides, or there may be a division in the family where one's supporting one and one's supporting the other. But it kind of that the fact that the silver chain, the silver, thing that bind them is broken. And so I kind of see that kind of as an image of the Umbers are loose. the Umbers are, especially if the Great John is freed or he dies or something in the Winds of Winter, then what do Moors and Hother have to lose? They don't have to lose anything. He's either free and he's back with Lady Stoneheart and all that, or he's dead and they're like, well, fuck it. We're going to fight anyways. So let's go to it. So I just kind of saw that kind of as a symbolism for, just because the Great John is in prison doesn't mean he's chained.
Yeah. I mean, it could just be a move where they're like, okay, we need our name to go on. So you go here. We no hard feelings, but let's
right.
Let's go to battle. If I lose, I go down. That's fine. We've accepted it. We're old now. We accept it, and it could be one of those things. It could be like they're thinking like bittersweet about their end.
Yeah,
but then also it could be a bargaining chip to save the Great John. Just if one of them wins.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Depending on it's just. It could be like one of them wins, they capture the other one, they can trade Great John for one, or I don't know. Like, it's definitely interesting because they don't seem like they're going to be. It doesn't seem like they're actually on opposite sides.
Yeah. So one of the things that I think is interesting is his daughter. The fact that his daughter, was captured by wildlings in 270 AC. Now, there's a theory out there, and I didn't get a chance. Yeah, I didn't get a chance to look into it, but there's a theory out there that I think it's Val.
Yep, I think
is his daughter. So I found that very interesting. Moor's Umber has white hair,
or is it Val is his daughter, or is it Val is his granddaughter? Because I'm just thinking of the Belle the Bard story where he like kidnaps the girl and then brings back the baby, right?
Yes. So you're right. There is a theory that Val and Dalla are his granddaughters.
Okay.
That they would be the children of Mor's Umber's daughter. So she's kidnapped in 270. That doesn't mean that she was born in 270, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mor's Umber was born in 235. So let's see, if he's born in 235, he could, by 250, he could be having kids, 255. So yeah, his daughter who was kidnapped could have easily been like 15 years old at the time, or a little younger. And then eventually had kids, which are now of the age around 301, 302 AC that would have been Val and Dalla. So yeah, so the theory is that Val and Dalla are Mor's Crowfood Umber's granddaughter. So now let me read this from A Dance with Dragons. Val waited by the gate in the pre-dawn cold, wrapped up in a bearskin cloak, so large it might well have fit Samuel Tarley. Beside her was a Garin, saddled and bridled, a shaggy gray with one white eye. So,
oh man,
again, this is, you know, whether it comes true or not, you know, whether George decides, okay, yes, she is his granddaughter, and I'm going to have them figure it out by the end of the books or whatever.
He's at least.
I'm gonna create this character, Mor's Umber, who's going to have his daughter go missing, and then I'm going to have a wildling who's beautiful, who's resourceful, who stands up like an Umber would to Queen Selyse. And I'm going to specifically write a scene where she's wrapped in a cloak, a bearskin cloak, which we know the Umber sigil. They're wearing a cloaked skin. Crowfood Umber wears the skin of a polar bear, of a snow bear, and then I'm going to have her stand beside an old shaggy Garin that's gray, meaning old, meaning aged, and it's going to have one eye. I mean, that's as only the mastery that George can do with this type of stuff. It's
like, yeah, like sometimes it's like something like this is so on the nose. It's either, I mean, it's definitely intentional. Now you can make an argument whether it's a red herring or not, but he's definitely thinking about it. Someone that writes the way he does, that's not a random coincidence, especially when it's so linked to, you know, a certain family or family members of this house. Like he knows what he's doing. I don't think it's
and Brett, Morse hates the wildlings. So
yeah,
we would never put it past George to have a character who hates a culture so much that his granddaughters end up being a surviving queen, basically, that Selyse and Stannis elevate to queen status, and his other granddaughter who potentially gave birth to Mance Raider's son,
Travis,
the guy whose skull he wants.
Travis, there's no way this could happen. Are you saying that George R.R. Martin likes to write irony?
Yes.
Are you saying that?
Yes.
I don't believe it.
Forget about the human heart in conflict with itself. It's irony in conflict with irony. But again, the human heart in conflict with itself. If Mor's Umber survives this, and we're not sure he's going to because we're going to talk here in just a minute about something. If he survives this and he finds out that his granddaughters are wildlings, that wrecks his whole worldview, but could potentially also change his worldview about them.
It's one of those things with the end game where people are talking. Well, I'd say people, but I forget because this was a few months ago when I listened to this, but and it was probably B-Fish and poor Quentin, of course, always knowledgeable and experts. But anyways, the marrying into like the wildlings marrying into a lot of the northern houses and like taking up the castles along the walls. I mean, because you get the first of it with the Karstark, and the thin Alice Karstark.
Yeah, Alice Karstark.
And the Magnar, the new Magnar or whatever.
Right.
Thins, but
Stig, maybe.
God, I don't know.
Stig, it's wildling or it's thin for Steve.
Oh, okay.
I'm just making that up.
Hey, you shouldn't have said that. I was just taking your word for it. We're going to start making new terms.
Yeah. It's just one of those things that, even if it's not true, it's just like George is playing with it just to be like, I wonder if they're going to pick up on this.
Yeah. Because obviously when he says something is an accident or a coincidence, like he actually, like if he gets asked that question, he kind of comes out and like says it. Like,
yeah.
I mean, not an exact one-to-one, but the Jane hips situation. I mean, he kind of came out and just said like, that was an accident. Like I didn't mean to do that.
Right.
So
now, but that's very specific. Like these are very like we said, a bear cloak, a bear skin cloak. She's standing by something with one eye. It's just one of those things that just makes your eyes go wide and your ears to perk up. So go ahead.
Oh, well, and one thing about Val, like being the son of Mance, it gave me Robert vibes because what if he had found out about John? Like, what if Rob found out about John? Like, how would the Umbers find out about Val being, Mance Rayder's daughter, even though they're related?
Not Mance Rayder's daughter
or granddaughter.
Her sister having Mance Rayder's child.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. But yeah. But yeah, how would they feel about that? So you get that kind of vibe.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah.
So.
Well, and let's stick with Mance's skull just because, that's something that Moores requires in order to swear fealty to Stannis. Mance is alive. So if Moore somehow survives and finds out that Mance is alive, what does he do? I mean, I don't think he can. He doesn't have the manpower to do anything to Stannis, probably, but it could potentially wreck that alliance there. Okay, well, you lied to me. You gave me this skull. Who the fuck's skull is this? Probably Rattle Shirts.
Well,
probably is Rattle Shirts, actually.
Yeah. But this sounds like the Stark story where they had to return the granddaughter when the granddaughter, so the Stark, Belle the Bard or whatever they that story where the Starks were basically, they had died out, so the daughter took on the mantle and revived the Stark house. There could be a potentially the Umbers could die in the Battle of Winterfell, or die in the aftermath going against Stannis, or whatever, because they find out Mance is alive. That could get them killed, and then through that, it may not be an Umber revival per se, but it would be somehow Mance's child takes up that last hearth.
Absolutely.
Which would be kind of cool.
Yes.
And it would be a way of doing it to give you a wink at like something, but like you don't really know.
Well, yeah, and you're right. I mean, again, whether or not George confirms it, or if he's just playing with it, if he's just playing with us, or if he decides, well, I'm not going to confirm it. But like you said, if all the Umbers are dead by the end of the story, sort of like the potential for all the Baratheons to be dead and Gendry or Edric or whoever in the books takes over, but in the show, Gendry did.
Yeah.
What if a bastard child? Well, I don't guess technically Mance's son would be a bastard because it's not the same as Westerosi standards. Anyways, if this child, they say, well, we need someone to man Last Hearth, and Last Hearth was one of the closest castles to the wall, and so we're going to give it to the Wildlings going forward. So, Mance Rayder's son, you have Last Hearth. And George is kind of like, hey, I
think
so
that's
you can see in the
wink.
future.
That would be a wink.
You could see in the future a question by a fan saying, well, here's all the evidence for Val and Nala being Mors Umber's granddaughter, and you gave Mance Rayder's son Last Hearth. So is that kid a number? And George saying, well, what do you think? Kind of like, I'm not going to answer that. I just love it. Yeah. So speaking of the giants, the Umbers, we just want to give a shout out to this theory. People should go and read this. This is a very interesting read. Mm-hmm. So Cantus, I don't know how he really pronounces this, but and we've referenced him before. He writes a lot about Stannis, and we talked about him on our Stannis at the Gates episode with Frank. Cantuse, can't use. His blog is Mediations on A Song of Ice and Fire. And he writes this really interesting, I'm sorry, not mediations, meditations on A Song of Ice and Fire. Jesus, mediations. He writes this really interesting essay called The Low Cunning of Giants. And when you said cunning earlier, that's why I kind of stepped there.
Well, I think I heard someone, I can't remember at this point, but like someone was talking about like how the Umbers aren't just, like babbling idiots, that are just strong. The Tywin quote of, she's got a low cunning, or he's got, whatever. Every time he says that, or Tyrion, I think maybe Tyrion says it.
Tyrion says that about Cersei, I believe. Yeah. She has a certain low cunning. Yeah.
Then maybe I think, Tywin says it about someone too, right? At one point.
So the low cunning of giants, the devious geniuses in House Umber. Now, we're not going to give away exactly what his premise is. And as Cantus does, he lays out the evidence for, and then he provides you with the evidence against, or he questions some of it himself just to, kind of say, well, this is kind of sparse, but this is, really solid. So I'm not really sure, but just go read it. It basically proffers that Mors and Hother Umber are playing a long con, that they are, there's times in the essay where they're the ones that are sending all these wedding invitations for Ramsay and Jane's wedding. They're the ones sending a bunch of different letters to Stannis, to Jon, all these people, basically that they're really playing this con to try and seed information to certain people and to try and get people to enter the war.
I like that. I
do too. And he admits it in his essay. He admits that some of this is a bit of a stretch. That, like one of the things he uses as his evidence is the sealing waxes. When they send these letters, they stamp them with wax, and there might be a symbol in there. Like if Ned would have sent a letter, it would have been with in white with a dire wolf on it or something like that. And so he kind of uses that as evidence, but he also kind of says, well, George didn't really invent this detail until like Feast and Dance. So it could just be that he just came up with a new way, or it could be that not all letters has, a sigil on them. They might just have a collaring on them to denote which royal or which noble house it is. So it's just a really interesting essay, and people should go check it out.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to check that out too. I did not check that out yet. So
yeah. Now the last thing that I want to talk about here with Moore's Umber is the Winds of Winter. And we know that the Freys and the Boltons are marching out of Winterfell. Not all of them, but a large force of them.
Yeah.
We know that some of them died in the pits that he dug. But we know that there's a battle coming between Stannis' forces and the Frey Bolton forces. So what is between them? Well, Moore's Umber. So it's possible that Moore's Umber and his forces retreat and make it back to Stannis' camp and take part in the battle there. Or it's possible that they are killed. And I want to read something that that came to us a couple of years ago. And, spoiler warning, we gave you a spoiler warning at the beginning, but if you don't want, this is not anything official from the Winds of Winter, but this is the potential fragment chapter from Asha in the Winds of Winter. So if you do not want to hear this, you probably need to stop the podcast now.
Okay, I'm going to stop it. No, I'm just kidding. No, but no, I always forget that we do have the Winds of Winter spoiler thing, but I always still try to be a little conscious of it.
I just want to give a heads up to people that maybe they don't want to know this, so you should hop off now. All right, so I think it was John Oliver's show on HBO. George R. R. Martin appeared on John Oliver's show, and he was at his desk. He was typing away, and most people thought, there's a recipe was pulled up or whatever.
Yeah, it was like B-roll or something. Yeah.
Well, come to find out, as only a Song of Ice and Fire fans can do, the image was saved. People began to look at it, and they began to realize that this was the Winds of Winter. This is something he was writing.
B-Fish helped out with this, right?
B-Fish, Eliana.
Oh, I didn't know.
Bookshelf Stud. Yeah, Eliana kind of. They all contributed, but Eliana kind of did the post on Reddit and provided all of the fill in the gaps that we got. So I just want to read this. This is an interesting. This is an interesting thing. So this is Asha's viewpoint, and it sounds like from the chapter that she is fighting. She's on the front lines, or she's standing there watching, whether she's beside Stannis or he's finally given her a sword and let her fight. But it sounds like some of the Frey and Bolton forces are marching on them, and they're getting ready to engage. So some of this will be a little fragmented as I read it. The leader of the enemy wore silver plate and mail, inlaid with blank of lapis lazuli. The crest of his war helm was blank, fashioned in the shape of the twin towers of House Frey. Before him rode 3 banner bearers. One bore the stag and lion standard of King Tommen, another the twin towers of House Frey. The third brandished a bloody head, impaled on the point of a tall spear. An old man's head it was, white-bearded and one-eyed. The spear was blank, with a pale wood, almost white. Along its upper shaft had blank, dark and red. Crowfood Umber, Asha thought. The old Northman had fought to his death, it seemed. Perhaps the foe had thought the sight of the severed head would take the heart out of Stannis Baratheon. They rushed together. I added that Stannis Baratheon for dramatic effect. But it sounds like Crowfood Umber is killed.
Sounds
like it.
I don't know.
Now, to be fair, I think this was like 2014, 2015, somewhere through there. So it was a few years ago. And one of the things that we know, and this has actually just been, well, first of all, it's quite possible that this chapter could have been changed by George at any time. I mean, he could have, right then and there, he could have deleted it thinking, oh, shit, they just got this on camera. And I don't think George does that. George doesn't react to the fan reaction and then create the episode or create the chapter around it. Yeah. But it's quite possible that he's changed it just because he's decided to change it.
Yeah.
One of the things that we recently found out, and B-Fish actually revealed this, is that around 2014 or 15, it sounds like George almost had the Winds of Winter completed. But for some reason, whether he didn't like the way it was written or he didn't like that he couldn't get enough story, and I don't know. We don't know. There's only speculation. But he just began a massive rewrite and has been working on it ever since. Now, we know George has said, it is my intention that you have the Winds of Winter in your hands by the summer of 2020. Mm-hmm. So it's quite possible that this fragment that we just read has been completely altered, completely changed for whatever reason. It's quite possible that all the other parts of the chapter that we didn't see were changed, but this is retained. We just don't know. Well, but it does. I mean, I think from a logistical standpoint, it probably makes sense that a larger force of Boltons and Freys, even though some of them died in pits, would probably overtake Mor's Umber and his Green Boys.
Yeah. But we don't have enough information to know.
Right. Like, we don't.
What was, you see, we don't, and you don't get Hothor's view, like, opinion of Mor's either, because Mor's is the one that says, I won't fight my brother. That doesn't mean Hothor wouldn't fight Mor. So we don't know. We just don't know. There's just not enough information up there. But also too, like, we don't know what part of the chapter this is, because there's been speculation of the Freys falling into the pit, them, or into the lake, freezing to death. They get the bodies out. They use the uniforms to infiltrate, and this could be something afterwards, So, and also George is a gardener. I mean, just think of like his original plan and like what he wanted to do for each book, and just how much it changed. I mean, even after Storm of Swords, he wanted to do the 5-year gap, and then all of a sudden that didn't happen. We got all these new characters, just thrown in there. So there's no telling, like, how massively different. And even like he says he knows how the story's going to end, but it's like, do you? Like, I think I think he knows where it's going to end, but like, it's just going to be, it's just going to be different. I think it's going to end great, I mean, but I think, the car ride to the destination is changing every, probably few months for him.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. And you're right. Some people have speculated that this fragment is them dressing up as the phrase and
which I absolutely love,
and getting ready to march back on Winterfell. I mean, it sounds to me like a battle, but that doesn't mean anything. I mean, like you said, we don't know what it is.
Well, and I'm being kind of positive because I'm like, I don't want another like heart wrenching thing.
I don't want more Umber now,
because we know we're going to get more heart wrench with the invasion of Fagon and then Dany. It would just be nice for like this little section to like all the cards went right, before, because we know it's going to go back to business as usual, where the stakes come back into play. But it could be a battle while they're like inside the walls or about to happen, where they've tricked the Boltons, and it's just I don't know. I'm being optimistic, but yeah. But
definitely.
But yeah, that's all I got.
All right.
Well. Oh yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna begin to wrap up.
Okay. Well, I don't have much more on that, but I do. Okay. I do have a question, which is very interesting, and it's kind of the crazy. Like, I've watched this fan theory. It has nothing to do with Game of Thrones, but I just want to throw this out there because it is so interesting. Have you watched Snowpiercer? It's on Netflix.
I have watched Snowpiercer.
Okay. Yeah. There's a fan theory.
The movie, right?
Yes. Yeah, the movie.
Okay.
There's a fan theory where Snowpiercer is the unofficial sequel to Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. And Charlie and it sounds crazy as shit, but watch that fan theory, because there's two of them. There's the main one, but then there's one that goes, oh, it's even crazier if you watch I can't remember, is it the original is Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, and
the original is Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, and the remake is Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
Okay, and that's confusing because the book is Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Yeah. So apparently the Johnny Depp one is closer to the book.
Yes.
But anyway, so there's even more. Oh shit! Sorry, I thought there was a wasp in my room, but it was a lightning bug. Because we have a wasp problem like here, but
oh no,
and it started flying, but it's just a lightning bug. Anyways, but it is crazy. And watch that fan theory, because I don't know if it's one of those things where they like we talked about with fan theories, where you look for, like, you have your answer, so now you're going to go look for the clues that fit it.
Right.
But my God, it's like a 15-minute fan theory, and there are so many clues to back this up. And one starting, I think it was either the book writer, I think it was the guy who wrote the books, his favorite movie was, or his favorite book or movie or something was Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, which is like, it's like,
especially the way the people in First Class, they look, the visual of them and their weird idiosyncratic ways. I can kind of see that. Like, I can kind of see in this weird, fucked up Charlie and the Chocolate Factory world, these people surviving.
Like, I don't want to give spoilers to Snowpiercer.
I'll go watch it.
But yes, it's I'm just like But anyways, it's crazy. It's like the craziest like fan theory that I've seen lately that had nothing to do with Game of Thrones. So,
oh wow! All right, well, folks, you heard it here first. Snowpiercer is a sequel to
unofficial, but
unofficial.
Definitely.
It occurs in the same universe as Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. I love it. I'm gonna have to watch that tomorrow.
Yes, it is amazing.
All right. Well, I think, Brett, that is probably where we should wrap it up tonight. We hope you all enjoyed our discussion on Anguy the Archer and Moore's Crowfood, Umber. We'll be back very soon with a brand new episode. Were you going to say something?
Yes. Also, I looked at our feed. The last episode was our most watched episode.
Nice.
So the one that was second to that, I'm not even going to look it up, but it's just crazy because I thought our views would be cut in half, and that was our most watched one. So maybe the fandom consolidated with the people who left. Maybe that happened. Maybe it expanded. I don't know, but I think that's awesome.
A lot of people are still sticking around after Game of Thrones and kind of like, okay, well, I want to learn more about this fandom, and even I don't remember who was talking about this, but there have been so many new Twitter users and Reddit users and podcast download and all this, obviously during Game of Thrones, because the hype is so much. But a lot of these people are sticking around because they're new to the fandom. I mean, someone wrote into Nauticast. They just started reading the books right before season 8 started.
Oh,
so
nice.
They're brand new to the fandom. It's just expanding every day. So
that makes a lot of sense.
So again, we thank you. We thank you all out there who've listened to us for over the past year. We thank you for sticking with us. We thank you for the new people. And we hope you enjoyed this episode. And we've got new ones planned. We'll be back with more. Keep listening out there. Hey, go follow us on Twitter. Follow us on Instagram. Follow us on Facebook at Planetos Podcast. If you are so inclined, give us a review on iTunes or any of the other feeds that you can listen to us.
Which I know reviews are hard because I think you just have to go to iTunes to review.
I
think a lot of the podcatchers don't have a.
When I read that, I kind of think, can people rate us on these other places? But anyways, if you're on iTunes, give us a review. That helps spread the word.
And if not, a share that works.
Share. Let your friends know that you like the podcast, that you're enjoying the content. And again, we'll be back with some new guests in the future. We'll be back with some new episodes. We'll continue to focus on the minor characters, and we've got a lot planned. So stick with us, and we hope that you'll stay with us here on Planetos. All right. Good night.
Good night.